All right. Hello, teammates. During this week's writing clinic, I want to make sure we're hitting some important notes about different grammatical concepts that we're having a little bit of trouble with. The reason we're focusing on this is that language is the fourth column of the TCAP, the 10 Ready writing rubric. And it's one of these places where we can really get essentially free points by just mastering a couple of things, because right now we're making little errors that if we fix them, we'll be able to see big growth in our writing score. So today we're thinking about grammatical number. And grammatical number tells us how many of something there is. So for example, I have apples that ends in an S, and that tells me I have more than one apple. In contrast, I have something like classroom, and since there's nothing on the end, I know it's just one. Singular is the word we use for when it's one. Plural tells us it's more than one. I've made this little chart here that tells us a bit more about what exactly we need to look for in each of the singular or plural categories for nouns, pronouns, and verbs. For nouns, this is just pretty easy, where it's, is there an S on the end or not? So again, we have dog versus dogs, pencil versus pencils. It's pretty easy to tell if there's one of something or more than one. The only time that this gets hard is that there are some exceptions, and a lot of these are easy. Like, we know the difference between person for one and people for more than one, or woman for one and women for more than one. But there are also some trickier ones, like words that end in US, where you might actually have an ending that's totally different and doesn't end in S at all. So for example, octopus becomes octopi, or we have other things like I'm a university alumnus, but more than one would be university alumni. These are ones you have to memorize, but for the most part, don't worry about them. Singular pronouns are those that do not use the they, them, their. It's all of our he, she, him, she, her, hers. It's me, my, mine, this, that, each, everyone, someone. Now, the place where we have the most trouble with this is anytime a word ends in one, or a word starts with every or ends in buddy. So things like everybody, somebody, none, no one, all of those are actually singular, which we'll get to later. In contrast, plural is a little bit easier, where it's just they, them, theirs, you, your, yours, we, ours, us. Again, we also have a number for verbs, and am, is, was tells us about the singular verb for to be. The contrast here is that are, were would be for plural. In present tense, we get an S on the end of a verb. So he runs, the dog walks, she speaks. Anytime it ends with an S, it's singular. Other than that, if we do not have that S ending, it's probably plural. Of course, this gets harder when we're in other tenses, like the past tense, which is where we have to look for things like those verbs that have were or are in them, because those tell us what the number is. So for example, I'm speaking in the past perfect, and I say, or sorry, rather past progressive, and I say they were running. Because I have that were there, that tells me it's plural. In contrast, I would say he was running if it were just one person. The grammatical number of nouns, verbs, and pronouns must be consistent, meaning it has to agree across the sentence. My general rule of thumb is that anything that is following a preposition and is the object of a preposition does not matter to the sentence. So prepositions are words like about, above, across, after, against, among, around, at, before, behind, beside, between, beyond, by, down, during, about, above, across, after, against, among, around, at, before, beside, behind, between, beyond, by, down, during, into, near, of, off, far, on, lots of words like that. And so in this sentence, we have a preposition. So we say, each of them feel so excited to see their grades this quarter. Because I have this of here, of them, I'm going to actually just get rid of that, because I know that that doesn't matter to the sentence. And so I'm left with each feel. Now let's first identify the number of each. I go back up to my chart and I see that each falls under singular for pronouns. So this is just one person. Feel, in contrast, does not have an S ending, which tells me that it's actually plural right now. So this needs to be changed to each of them feels so excited to see their grades this quarter. I also see this pronoun here, their. And again, I know that all those them, they words are plural. And so for this, I want to get rid of the plural pronoun and exchange it for a singular one. So I can say each of them is excited, feels so excited to see her grades this quarter. I can also say his or her. That's totally up to you. The only thing to be careful here is that I don't do something like each of them feels so excited to see him grades this quarter, because that would tell me we're actually using the wrong pronoun. What I'd like you to do now is look at the following sentences and spot the number agreement errors in each. Every single time there's an error, I need you to correct it. So there are 4 examples below. Pause the video and take a minute to look at how each of these is working or not working in terms of subject, verb, agreement, and pronouns.